because it's about 18 months, right? And there's about 10.
Is this the Society of Botanical Artists?
That's right, yeah. And there's
Yeah.
about 10 sort of modules that you do, and then you have about 6 weeks or so for each one. So that's how that worked. And by the time I finished that, I sort of thought what to do next, and so then I just applied for the RHS, that's the Royal Horticultural Society show, give myself something else to do and paint and continue. And then and so that was in 2014, and that was my first, like, not being restricted by requirements of a course as to what to paint and the size. Oh my goodness, I mean, for me the size was tiny. We were painting on, I don't know, it's not A4, it might be A3. Yeah, it's A3 paper. But I found that, I mean, I was waiting to get hold of some bigger paper, which is what I immediately did. So that was really 2014. Was when I then could then paint what I wanted and how I wanted to paint it. But the course was great for making me sit down and paint sort of every day and then frantically for like the last 3 weeks of the 6 weeks that you're supposed to have your thing in by, because of course you're looking at your next specimen. That takes a week or so, and then you're drawing it, and then you're transferring it and all those things, and so that takes time, and then you have sort of like about 3 weeks left of painting. And you frantically do that, and then you sort of send it in last minute, breathe a sigh of relief, think you need a little break, and you take another about a week or so, and then you're back into the next one. And so it was good though, because it's just like art school really. It makes you do something every day, or like pretty consistently. You get in a practice and of painting and things. So that's really good. But when you're left to your own devices, as I am now, my studio practice times are not as good as they could be. I could certainly be painting more. And I need to sit down and sort of say, well, what do I want to do? Like, where do I want to go? Any shows, any sort of things? Because you do have to plan ahead. And then put it in a calendar and sort of aim for it, really. Okay, that's me fluffing around there with magenta. Let's see, any other spots? Oh, was it your post, Kate? You showed your painting of your one on Facebook or no, on Instagram. So it looked really nice. I was like, you know what? I mean, you could practically stop right there. In that, I thought, if that was your style, where somebody's style was that kind of nice, loose, soft kind of thing, I thought it looked really pretty. It had some really nice colours in there, and your washes were really sort of nice and smooth and soft and drifted out and things, and I thought Yeah, I was like, wow, you know, like if you didn't want to do a really strong, detailed image, and somebody was into doing kind of how you do sort of more.
Yeah, I really liked that painting that you posted, I think, maybe last week or the week before, with the background kind of fading out.
Oh, the red one?
Morning.
The red one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
See that?
it's really nice.
Thank you. That is kind of where I'm moving to.
Mm,
I think where not everything needs to be in focus, but it's kind of nice to have part of it in the front done. I think quite.
mm, contrast.
Yeah, I quite liked that. Okay, so there's some tiny details I'm just fluffing around with these.
How do you paper manage when you're using a full sheet or a larger size? Are you do you, you don't paint with it flat?
I,
What do you do?
yeah, I do. Okay, it depends what large size is. So I've got a board here.
Mm,
I've got a board here that is. Let's see, I can get my tape measure. My board at the moment is. Do you want inches or centimetres?
at this centimeters.
Is 80. 80 by like 60 centimetres.
Yeah.
So I would paint on that. I can paint on that flat. It does get a bit awkward though when you're trying to, when you need to paint further up and things and the bottom is down.
Is that surface that you're painting on at the moment sloped?
No, it's flat. I've painted on a flat surface pretty much since I started, and that is because I never really set up any sort of. I need a little desk something if I was going to paint. If I was going to paint slightly tilted, and I sort of never had that, so I never did it. And I know it's probably bad for things like backs and eyes and stuff to paint completely flat. People sort of tend to paint upwards, but as I travel and stuff, I don't really have all that sort of stuff set up, and I've never really set it up where I could buy a little desk or something. Now, the big paintings, like bigger on the meter paper, I paint upright. I have to. So I guess I do both. I mean, I could paint this. Actually, it'd be kind of weird. I've just spent so many years painting flat. I don't know if I'd paint a small picture slightly upright. Certainly not a tiny picture like those irises and stuff. I mean, I'd never do that on any sort of tilted surface. They're just so little. Hello, Bronwyn.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Hi.
Okay, so I don't know. Bronwyn might see a difference from last week now that she's just jumped in up to here. We sort of did around here, Bronwyn, and we're sort of slowly building up some of the magenta. I'm actually itching to start doing some more dry brush stuff, but I think I probably should just add all the right colours first and hold my horses a little bit. next week we will be really onto it, in that we'll be doing a lot more detail. Oh, so yeah, the brushes. So, you know my little trusty cheapy brush that I refer to. Definitely make sure you have your cheap nylon brush that you can misuse and mistreat already. I think we'll definitely get into that next week. It is a little bit like prep work, you know, because you can't really do the way I was sort of doing it like that, where I'm showing you that particular technique. You can't go over it with a wash too many times after you start doing that. You know, after you start doing that, you know, that kind of, that thing, right, where I do that, because once you start going over it with other washes, you then blur the lines that you've carefully created. So you really need all this stuff to be about 80% there in colour, but not 100% because you've got nowhere to go. So you need it to be almost the right colour intensity, so that you don't have to spend too much time trying to build it up with the dry brush thing as well. I mean, I guess you could just keep going over it, but so it is about sort of letting it so you let it dry, and then you sort of can go over it a little bit as well, but you do want it to be mostly the right colour before you start doing that. Now I'm just going to do a little bit up here, and then I'm going to switch colours. Okay. Oh no, I'm just going to do a bit more here too. So it's quite a nice, not quite a glow, but it does have something going on there. Alright, let me make sure we're in the right spot. Okay, so now I'm going to run around somewhat. Let's see, I was thinking of doing, before I started, I find there's some areas are quite cool, so I'm doing a nice sort of, well that's blue with a tiny bit of my magenta on my brush. A ultramarine blue, or some sort of really mid, there we go, or a cobalt deep. That's kind of a cool greyish blue is what I want. So that's that blue there. And we can put it in a few places. Just probably really lightly, probably. most definitely. It's almost like a base colour because it's not going to be the final colour there. I think what I would then do is maybe with the dry brushes go over in a little bit more of a purpley shade in those locations, a cooler purple. But I will do it. I'll do that with a dry brush, and that would be really nice. So I just want to pop that really up through here where we need a little bit of more colour. There's no highlights that we need to worry about on the edge, but there is down here, so you want to make sure we're away from that. Just a sort of a cooler tone really, and just really lightly. Some filling in between. I'll probably go over those two later as well. I'll just let them dry. And just make sure that edge close to our highlight is soft and lovely. Now I did paint over this with the magenta, so it's a little bit wet, so I might not go over that just yet. Well, actually, let's see. I say that, but there are some times, when it is that wet on wet painting where you want something to really blend quite nicely, and it will do it almost by itself if you paint it on your damp paper. So let's see what parts I might want to take advantage of that. Just a few little dark spots. You can just add. Okay, let's see where else. I definitely want a bit from here. And very lightly through here. Not too much though, but maybe just a few darker spots up the top there. This is quite light, so we'll be able to do the dry brush will be fine for that. And just a tiny bit There's a little glow area up here, so I've popped a little bit of blue on each side. When we put the pink in the middle, it'll be a nice sort of glowing effect. That's the idea, anyway. And we can do just some more through here. And take a little bit out right there. Leave a little space. It's quite pretty, and there's definitely some blue up here we can add. And I'm just keeping it away from this vein down here, and I'm going to just put it through this edge a little bit. Because that, to me, if I sort of squint my eyes, has a bit more of a glow coming through as well. So I want to just make sure I can capture that a little bit. It doesn't go all the way down, it's sort of mostly up here, I see that. So we can bring it back in here. I am staying away from this edge on this side as well. And just soften that edge with the brush. Soften that edge there. And I'm going to pop it all through this bottom part of the petal. And probably on this, it's not a highlight, it was just really a white part of the flower where there's no colour really. And I can come a little bit closer in and I'll leave a tiny highlight. Just through here, there's a super high highlight through there. It'll get covered in colour, but I just want to make sure I get to that. So we could just do a little lighter wedge in there. Trying to get something going down here. lastly, before I let you go out into the world, get on with your day or your night, you can do a little bit through here. I'm leaving this part here because it's a nice bit of a glow as well, so all through here we can have a bit of this, just that out. It's quite dark down here. And that is kind of it. I think it's about enough in that we can really start doing some fun stuff next week, I say. A bit more details and things. Alright, so that's that, I would say, for the moment. I think it's one of those things where you need a before and after photo so you can see that you've made a difference. Sometimes I feel like I haven't made any difference at all. But I think it definitely has some more colour, so we can, I would suggest to you to keep practicing this week some of that, you know, and doing some of that, because we'll be getting into it next week a lot more. Well, we'll be getting into it totally next week, I should say. I don't think we need to. I think this is mostly at a colour point that I like, so that I can start doing some more dry brush without having to start from zero, you know, where the colour intensity is about right. So, and this is quite a soft flower. It gets quite dark down here, but the colour is generally a nice soft purple. Alright, ladies, that is your mission for this week, should you choose to accept it. And I will send the video. I'll start. Gosh, it takes so long to upload, honestly. But I'll send that. But I'll send you photos first, because I think those are. I almost learnt from photos. You know, when I started botanical painting, I just looked at a lot of photos, and you kind of see where you want to get to. You know, in photos and things. I feel. Quite, you know, it's quite easy to sort of follow a photo and sort of know that's the point, that's the colour point you need at that area, and that's the brightness and things like that. And so I'll send you those so you can look at the photos immediately, and then I will send you the link as before for the video. And yeah, if there's any questions, or if you want to show me something like Kate's lovely halfway point of her painting, or you know, if you want to show me something of what you've been doing, I'll be happy to see it.